So Judaism predates Christianity, we said, by about 1,400 years. Now, the way Christianity did it, very cleverly, was not to try to negate or repudiate or reject the validity of Judaism. Rather, it was coming to replace it. The one thing that's very unique about Judaism is that the evidence behind it is incontrovertible. The story, the narrative, the dialogue, the historicity, the evidence is just overwhelming that no one has, or no major religion has made the claim that the Bible's not true and Moses never existed. Those people, that's a relatively new thing that sprung up in the 19th century, the whole Bible criticism. But for millennia, everyone accepted that. It was a basic truth that was accepted by everyone. The story was true. The Jewish people were kind of God's people. Moses did exist. This Mount Sinai experience, this transcendental experience that happened. Because remember, it's the only religion that has a national revelation. So when new religions come about, especially Christianity, it started off as the Judeo-Christians. In the first century of the Common Era, Judaism suffered from many schisms. A schism is when you have a group that splinters into two. So a splinter sect, sectarianism. So you have a group, the Jews, there were the Jews, and then, about the year, about 300 before the Common Era, a group sprung out amongst the Jews called the Sadducees, the Tzedokim, Sadducees. And they kind of were Jews, but Jews with a little twist. Then there was the Yevusim, and then you meet groups like the Essenes and groups like the Christians. Christianity started off as being Jews, but they were Jews and they were a little different. They had an obsession with JC, but they weren't a different religion. And eventually pivoted away to being its own religion. So let's say JC himself was a totally observant Jew. He was a regular Jew. His followers, and eventually, once Paul became the leader of that movement, he did what's called abrogated the law. He abrogated the law, which means he took the law of Torah law, and he said, you don't need to keep the Torah anymore. You don't have to be Jewish to be a Judeo-Christian, quote unquote. He took Judaism, Christianity, and separated them to two. So if you think of the way mitosis works. So you have one cell and it splits, it's two cells, right? So there was this whole period where, Judaism and Christianity were connected, or they weren't connected, but the groups that consider themselves Christians were Jews, but they had a little bit of a different idea about Messiah, about Jesus. Comes along Paul and says, two religions, so you don't need to be circumcised, you don't keep Shabbos, no kosher, no nothing. All you got to do is believe in Jesus, love your fellow as yourself, you're good to go, right? Turn the other cheek. But what about the Torah? What about the Jews? What about that? How does the narrative happen now? There's a new religion. Okay, wait a minute. Yesterday, we believed in the Torah and the national destiny of the Jews, destiny that is, and Moses and Abraham and the whole story in the Bible and Exodus and the mission. What happened to that? So is that all nonsense? So the answer is no. What Christianity adopted was that was true, but it was replaced. It wasn't not true. It wasn't just debunked. It's not nonsense. It was replaced. The quote unquote the Jews had it. They were God's people. They were responsible for humanity. They were light to the nations. They were everything. Tikkun olam. All those things that kind of underscore the Jewish responsibility, the Jewish national mission. They had it. They were negligent. Now we're the Christians. We're the ones that believe in the JC. That's what they did. They took and replaced it. But that doesn't mean that so if the Christian Bible is comprised of the Jewish Bible plus the Christian Bible. So they didn't get rid of the Jewish texts, the Jewish literature. So 24 books of the Torah are books in the Christian Bible. It's called the Old Testament because it's old. It's been replaced. There's a new version, right?
Got it. Okay.
So that's why the Ten Commandments are, they're the groundbreaking, according to the Christians, they're the groundbreaking beginning of this new ideology, and we're kind of the evolution, probably a better way to say it, of that religion, thus they still have the Ten Commandments. But it's kind of ironic. This is a real question, because one of the proofs against Christianity is that if you look at the book, right? So what do the Christians claim? The Christians claim, hey,
in the New Testament,
it was no, not the New Testament. The New Testament itself is enough.
Sure,
there's so many problems and so many contradictions, and just who Jesus was, who his father was. How does he descend from King David? So the book of I think it's Matthew and either Luke or John, I remember. They have just different paths of ancestry. Just different, like how could this be a book that has any divine quality? Anyhow, what was I saying? Oh, so according to the Christians, they concede. I'm getting you guys some water. In bottled water.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. You want?
No, I don't want. I'm fine. But they concede that the Torah, what they call the Old Testament, right, the Jewish Bible, was true. Just it was replaced. That's the major core change that happened. Jews had it, they lost it, now we have it. If you actually look at the book itself, it becomes clear many, many times. The book itself, Deuteronomy, for example, part of the Torah, says that this cannot be replaced. The book itself testifies that this is not replaceable. 4 times it says in Deuteronomy, don't add, don't subtract from the Torah. Can't add, can't subtract. If a prophet comes and says, I want to add 5 more mitzvahs, 5 more commandments to the Torah, or I want to subtract 25 mitzvahs, this is a false prophet. Because the Torah itself says, this is the final work, it cannot be added, cannot be subtracted. So one of the major questions you can ask any Christian who knows a little bit, and most of them don't know anything. It's true, because Christians were always encouraged to not ask too many questions and to remain ignorant. Once, if you look at the rise and the explosion of information, the Gutenberg Bible, that is directly linked with the Reformation. Why? Because now that there's accessibility to the information, everyone reads the book and says, wait a minute, what's going on over here? The Roman Catholic Church liked to pull the wool over the dummies, so to speak, the just the regular people, and just, not, their ignorance, the ignorance of the masses was to their advantage. So yes, but if you have a real debate with someone who knows, or if you have a discussion with someone who knows a little bit about Christian theology and philosophy, and a little bit about also the literature, you say, wait a minute, the Torah says that this is the final work. Where are your fringes? Right? The book says, Deuteronomy chapter 11, you should wear fringes. Where it says this in the corner of your, where's your fringes? Or another one that says, Shema Yisrael, Shem Echad, God is one. How come you have this whole trilogy? What's up with that nonsense? Why don't you observe the Shabbat? Like, all these questions are legitimate questions to someone who takes the issue seriously. Most of them don't, the vast majority, especially nowadays. It's become very watered down. We still have it, obviously. We live in Texas, the Bible Belt. It's called Bible Belt for a reason. But that's that. So as to the Ten Commandments, you even have atheists that believe in the Ten Commandments. Ten Commandments are...
Aren't they the foundation for the Noahide laws?
No. Noahide laws, there's only 7 Noahide laws. There's overlap, obviously. But there are some things, like thou shalt not covet. The last of the Ten Commandments.
Noahide laws are basically like the old, like...
Right. Noahide laws are universal laws. So
like,
if you're Jewish...
of like any
society.
Modern society.
Any functioning society has to have them.
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Noah, like Noah.
Noah.
Noah I-D-E, yeah, like Noah the movie. Russell Crowe. So Noah, remember Noah wasn't one of the characters in Genesis. So Noah wasn't Jewish, but Noah got a lot of laws. God told him, listen, this.
Oh, right.
That's before Judaism. And thus they're called the Noahide laws, and these are laws that are applicable to everyone. These are basic human morals. But the Ten Commandments is a step up already.
Step up.
Like you say, thou shalt not covet. What does that mean?
Covet what?
What it says? Don't covet the house of your friend, the wife of your friend,
right.
or like the animals of your friend. It means don't even desire it. It doesn't mean don't act upon it. It means don't even desire it. Don't be at all envious of what your friend has. Well, that's already a very steep demand. There's one thing to say, hey, if you're envious, don't act upon it. Don't try to siphon away his stuff. Don't try to usurp his wife or steal his animals or steal his house or anything like that. That seems like that's one thing. To say don't covet, don't even desire it, that's a much higher level. And that's part of the Ten Commandments, the last of the Ten Commandments. And that's obviously given to us Jews. So while there is overlap in the Ten Commandments and the seven Noahides, it's not the same thing. Question.
We did also remember where we left the commandments, but I do know one of our questions was